HashiCorp, and today Samantha is going to walk us through kind of an overview on HCP Vault. And like Mike said, between me, Megan, and Samantha, as a bit of the R&D brain trust, we are happy to answer any questions as it relates as people come up. We'd love it to be an interactive session as well. So yeah, please let us know. And I will give the floor to Samantha.
Okay, for sure. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can everybody see my screen? Just a nod would be good confirmation. Yep. Okay. Awesome. So HCP Vault is our managed service offering of Vault. As you can see here, you've kind of a comparison of the expectations commonly associated with Vault Enterprise versus managed Vault service, which is our cloud offering of HCP Vault. This allows for production-ready clusters as well as development, non-production, or proof of concept clusters. We offer both supported in the cloud at the moment. We often heard from customers that there have been historic challenges in seeing time to value in setting up Vault and a lot of operational burden with maintaining Vault up to date. And so we wanted to kind of offer this as a solution to a lot of our customers who we've heard from in the past. And so we allow for one-click push button deployments for both of our production ready clusters as well as our proof of concept development clusters to allow for faster time to value and accommodate some of those common concerns. And we also adhere to a lot of automated maintenance on our end that we provide for you. So this could include automated snapshot restoration, under 24-hour cadence, audit logging, both in bulk as well as exported to Datadog, Grafana, and Splunk, and maintaining upgrades. You will always be on the latest to greatest and have that option. And we've seen it in the past being kind of an operational burden to constantly keep Vault up to date. And so we're trying to accommodate that as well. In addition to maintaining some of the operational infrastructure for you, as well as giving you faster time to value, we also offer 24/7 monitoring with a 99.9% SLA. All production grade clusters are highly available, monitored 24/7 with on-call support staff, and we have silver tiers, the default SLA. So in this presentation, I'm going to be going over the HCP platform first, primarily, what you can expect from that, how HCP Vault currently operates today on the platform and what's available, and we'll end with sort of a roadmap overview of what you can expect in the upcoming year. As we've mentioned previously, we're happy to answer any questions across me, Megan, and Yishan specific to this team. So please, if you have questions throughout, happy to answer, and if you want to save them for the end, that's also fine. So within HCP Vault, we kind of want to allow for better flexibility for the customer as well as a lot of choice. We will be responsible for deploying and operating the cluster for you so that you can focus more so on adoption and actually using the product. We want to allow for a lot less operational overhead, as I mentioned, keeping your clusters constantly up to date. And so you have less monitoring on your end, allowing you to sort of set up Vault to the best of your ability without some of these historic pain points that you might have encountered or seen on self-managed Vault or Vault Enterprise. So as I mentioned, HCP Vault will eventually be a multi-cloud platform. Currently, we're available on AWS only, but we allow you to spin up a cluster in only a matter of minutes using either our UI that we provided or using the Terraform provider. This automatically creates an HVN, which you can configure to whatever regions we offer, which I'll go over in a moment. And this is used to automatically create a VPC. It's single region only, but shortly we'll be allowing for multi-region cluster deployments. These are production ready, should you choose the production offerings, 3 nodes across availability zones. And so this allows for a sort of robustness built into our production ready clusters. Unhealthy nodes are quickly remediated by our team. As I mentioned, we have a 99.9% uptime. And we'll be going over the different types of clusters that we offer on a future slide. So as I mentioned, we're run exclusively in AWS at the moment, but we do offer these regional supports today with later on in the year, we'll be expanding this regional offering, but APJ are the newest offerings that we've offered. So that includes Sydney and Singapore. Like I mentioned, we plan on adding the rest of the regions into the new year. And we are also, like I mentioned again, exclusively offered on AWS. So now I'm going to go over an overview of HCP Vault specifically, talk about some of the features we have in place and what HashiCorp sort of controls on our end, and some of the security concerns you may have that are common questions. So while we do offer namespace support and other traditionally multi-tenancy features, HCP Vault as today is still single tenant. Each HCP account is coupled with its own separate AWS account, and there's complete isolation across customers. We are also end-to-end encrypted on almost everything. Snapshots are stored in an encrypted S3 bucket within our control plane account, and we will likely be co-locating them with the cluster soon. Our control plane accounts are exclusively within the US, but eventually, to address some of these data locality concerns within the new year, we will be co-locating them within the regions that your clusters are in. Audit logs are also encrypted in S3 bucket in the same account as the cluster, the same AWS account or data plane account. All other Vault data is stored and encrypted in EWS storage, and it never leaves the designated AWS account that we affiliate and create with your cluster. And as far as production hardening goes, we align with all of the current Vault best practices that you would expect from Vault Enterprise. Clusters are built in with end-to-end TLS, immutable tokens, swap disabled. Again, all of the production hardening features that we currently provide on Vault Enterprise that you can see online and we can link out to as well, you should expect here as well. So now we have some of our common platform security-based questions. Oftentimes, as a managed service, and particularly when it comes to secrets, these are pretty common concerns amongst our customers. We don't have any access to individual secrets, nor can we modify any of your policies. All data plane or AWS accounts that we affiliate with the cluster are created once the cluster is created, and all connectioners. Yeah, just want to, sorry, I know the recording stopped for a moment. That's totally fine. And as far as like the root token and how that access works when you spin up a cluster, it's only used in the initial setup and then we immediately revoke it. Top level namespace of HCP Vault clusters is the admin namespace. That is kind of a noticeable difference you'll see between HCP Vault offerings versus Vault Enterprise. But as far as root access goes, we revoke that almost immediately. We do support KMS auto unsealing. And so how this sort of works with the KMS key is when a cluster is created, a unique KMS key tied to the cluster is created with it and trusted only with the affiliated EC2 instances that we provision for that cluster. Recovery keys are encrypted and stored within the control plane and readily available should those be necessary. But we don't have any individual access to secrets. Everything is end-to-end encrypted. We have a pretty robust security practices in place when it comes to running Vault as a managed service. Okay, so now I'm going to go over the networking options that we have when it comes to HCP Vault and potentially connecting it to some of your private or self-managed resources. So one of these is a public URL. We typically don't recommend this for production use cases of the clusters, but it is an option and is toggleable. So if you want to, originally spin up your cluster and have it as a public URL, that is totally fine. You can change that after the fact. We also offer VPC peering and transit gateway as like the private URL connection options. These are mechanisms that we typically recommend for you to connect to your own self-managed resources. And we have some pretty great learning guides in place today that should allow you to get faster time to value and be able to set these up pretty well within the platform. And so as I've mentioned earlier, we offer push button deployments so you can see your Vault clusters live with only a matter of minutes. This is a screenshot on the side of what the process looks like in the UI. So you'd be able to name your cluster, assign it to an HVN where you would decide which region of the options we have available, where the HVN lives today. And within a matter of minutes, your Vault cluster will be live and you should be able to have access to it. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about snapshots and audit logs. So I mentioned this briefly earlier, but we actually automate and take snapshots for you every 24 hours. And you have the option to take these more often as you like. We store these snapshots up to 30 days at the moment, and we plan on making this more configurable for you in the future. So should you want to expand that to 60 or 90 days, that will eventually be an option for you. But at the moment, it is only up to 30 days. And as far as audit logs go, we offer two options for accessing those. One could be they can be downloaded in bulk within our platform. And two, we allow you to export to Grafana, Datadog, and both Splunk Enterprise and Splunk Cloud. This last audit export is something relatively new to the platform. It was pretty exciting. And so I'd encourage you all to check it out. It's the dashboards that we've created and with our partners have been very impressive, and we've gotten some good feedback so far. So next, I'm going to talk a little bit about the auth methods, secrets engines, and database secrets engines that we currently fully support on the platform, and those of which are currently coming. I just want to note a caveat here that just because, we say that they're supported today and the other column, says coming soon, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not supported on the platform yet. It just means the team internally hasn't fully validated and vetted that there aren't any constraints or known constraints that we need to document and prioritize further. So we actually plan on doing the rest of this testing and validations for auth methods listed within the rest of Q1. And any constraints that we find will be documented and prioritized. Any of the constraints that we found so far with any of these auth methods, secrets engines, or database secrets engines are currently published for you to look at. So these are some of the secrets engines we offer today. Similarly to audit logs, like I mentioned, just because they're not supported doesn't mean that they don't work. It just means that we haven't internally validated and tested robustly. The rest of the validations, like I mentioned, will be coming in the upcoming quarter. Similarly for database secrets engines, MySQL and Cassandra are coming. Okay, so now I'm going to walk through a couple of our different options as far as clusters go. So as I mentioned, we have dev clusters available. These are our non-production offering. They're actually single node as opposed to starter and standard, which are 3 node across availability zones. And generally speaking, these are used for proof of concept or testing. These don't allow for snapshots or audit logs, whereas all of our production offerings do. We still automate snapshots, but they're not made available to you to revision or recover. And it's also outside of our SLA. So that I've mentioned a few times, that is for production grade offerings only. You'll see starter listed here. I'm not really going to talk about this as much because it's self-service or pay-as-you-go only. So it is an option, it's available on the platform, but when we're talking about our contract offerings, we don't typically sell starter. And both dev and starter have a 25 client count limit, whereas standard does not. If you use the pay-as-you-go offering with standard, we actually end up charging past that limit. So you are charged on a client by client basis. Contract offerings obviously work a little bit differently, but standard and starter are traditionally our production grade clusters. Like I mentioned, 3 nodes across availability zones, fast replacement for nodes, monitored, 99% uptime. And at the bottom, you can see some of our scalability testing that we currently publish. Okay, so as I mentioned, towards the end of the presentation, we will be going over some of the Vault roadmap for the new year. So the main thing that's coming out very, very soon is the Plus SKU. This will primarily offer cross-region performance replication. So of the regions that we currently support, you will be able to create a performance secondary in one of the other regions. And we'll also accommodate paths filtering. So you should be able to sort of determine which secrets engine and auth methods between the different regions should be available. And this should help, ideally raise your performance. We also will be offering MFA shortly. Currently, we actually do offer Okta, but it's available in the UI only. But the rest of the MFA methods should be coming soon to HCP Vault. As I mentioned, on the past couple of slides, all secrets engines and database secrets engines should be validated by the end of this quarter. All auth methods as well. We will allow you to have a customizable length of snapshots past 30 days. Like I mentioned, currently that is the maximum, but we will be making this more configurable for production grade clusters. As far as recovery goes, we want to offer some grace periods for cluster deletion so that should something accidentally happen and a cluster needs to be deleted, we allow you to recover that at a much faster, again, aligning with sort of this time to value notion that we have here. We also currently automate all major and minor version upgrades, but for production grade clusters for standard and up, we are going to be allowing configurable maintenance windows so that you will be able to define within a certain time period when you'd like your major version upgrades to occur. We also are working on a potential SLA increase. And as I mentioned, additional AWS regions, including Canada. And finally, we will be addressing some of those data locality concerns, which includes co-location of snapshots and making sure that some of our other audit logging and cross-cloud regional concerns are up to date on those requirements. So that's actually all I have as far as this presentation goes. I'm happy to open up the floor to questions, and thank you all so much for your time. And I'll stop sharing my screen.
Awesome. Thank you, Samantha. So we got a question from Depesh. Any ETA on support on other cloud platforms there?
Yeah, so the next one coming for HCP Vault is going to be supporting Azure, and then GCP should follow after as well. We don't have a timeline, but I can say publicly that Azure is coming sooner rather than later, and it's something that we are actively planning for at the moment.
Thanks, Yishan. Depesh, does that answer your question though?
Yes, it does. I do have a follow-up question. Sorry, I just thought coming off mute is probably the better way than just typing.
No, please. Set expectations, folks. Sorry, please feel free to jump off mute and make this interactive. Depesh, thank you for leading the charge there.
Yeah, thank you. I think the second part of the question was, and is the intent then eventually to also have cross cloud provider replication? Like I can have one instance in AWS, but probably I'm running hybrid, right? And I have one instance in AWS and then replicates to my second instance in Azure or GCP, whatever the case may be. Is that probably somewhere down on the roadmap?
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be the whole purpose, right? We don't want to just be able to provision clusters on different clouds. We would want to introduce some replication. There's also currently a project that is in works that would kind of be the starting point of I think your question, Depesh, where it's like you could potentially link your self-managed Vault cluster with your HCP Vault cluster. So that is something that I know the company is actively working on today.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, again, folks, to be clear, please let us know if you have any questions or comments here. Resetting expectations. The goal was to speak to what HCP Vault is, based on Vault, our product offering here, and how we're looking to bring that to the HashiCorp Cloud Platform. This is the group to ask between Yishan, Samantha, and Megan. So please feel free to ask via chat or live. Okay, so one thing I might do, just as a call to action, if you like, I'll pull it up. If you really want to try it out today, here's an example of what that might look like. Oh, no, that's okay. Looks like there's a couple of questions from Paul and Saul. Paul asks, is there any cost for devs? And Saul asks, any chances of a demo session?
I can answer that pricing question. For the development tier, workloads start at about 0.03 cents an hour. So let me share the pricing guide with you. DevSKU is available to our annual contract customers, but it is a separate pay-as-you-go credit card. We don't have SLAs for development, so you can get the details on the development tier on the link that I just shared with the chat. And sorry, this is also, excuse me, we offer bronze support for the development SKU. I misspoke.
Thanks, Megan. And I just got it up here too, for anyone looking. And Jeff asked, can you elaborate on the AD module that is coming next quarter? Limitations for on-prem legacy type apps?
Yes. Oh, go ahead, Samantha.
Well, I was just going to mention that Active Directory should be fully validated by the end of next quarter. I'm not sure what there is as far as like much to elaborate. You should expect the common use cases to be supported. I don't know, Yishan, was there something you wanted to mention outside of this?
Nope, that was it.
Okay, thanks for that. And Jeff, it looks like it did answer your question. Please feel free to follow up. And Yishan, Megan, Samantha, let me know if it's easier for you just to read or for me to read it out to you. But Peter asks, can you explain again how the customer manages the encryption key for the vault and how HC has no access to it?
Yes, for sure. Let me pull back up that slide so people can have a chance to read it again. I understand I went a little fast too.
And thanks for the questions, folks. This is perfect. And these are the smart folks that will be able to answer for you.
Okay, so as far as the encryption key goes, and I'm assuming by that you mean the KMS key that we use for auto unseal. Correct me if I'm wrong. But essentially, when your cluster is spun up, we automatically provision a KMS key with that to allow for auto unseal. And it's stored and tied back to the data plane account that we tie back to each individual AWS cluster. For the purposes of HashiCorp, we primarily interact with what's called the control plane account, which works for across all AWS accounts. And like I mentioned, these KMS keys are specific to the data plane account or the account tied back to the cluster itself. And so it's trusted only exclusively by the EC2 instances that back the cluster. So not, anything that HashiCorp, typically would monitor. And it's configured to sort of allow for this auto unseal mechanism. But along with, supporting KMS auto unseal, we also have to, obviously support recovery keys. So how those work, or they are returned back to the control plane, which is controlled by HashiCorp, just in case they're necessary. And they're transit encrypted and stored in the primary data store in which we use, tied back to each cluster individually, so that should you ever need these recovery keys, we can offer them up to you, in real time. So that's sort of a walkthrough of how KMS works as far as sealing goes and what you can expect from your encryption keys. I'll leave this slide up because, again, I know I went through a little bit quickly and it has a lot of useful information, but that's sort of what you can expect.
Did that answer your question there?
And do you guys have connectivity with HSM? Like currently we are using the custom image of the HashiCorp in which we are managing the HSM, but in new feature, do you have any default HSM configuration added?
Not as of today, but it's something that we're actively aware of, and we plan on, having that functionality, I would say, again, soon. I should also be very transparent, share with people that our definition of soon, at least on the product team for HCP Vault, is concrete things that we know we may and can work on within the scope of the coming year. So,
because that's the reason I'm not upgrading my production environment because it's a custom image. We can do it, I know, but I'm worried maybe it will break something if I would upgrade my Vault version.
Yeah, that's understandable. We do intake these as requests, so we're happy to, provide that further, and it can help us prioritize. But yeah, as of right now, we still don't support it, and eventually it will be prioritized, as Yishan mentioned. But happy to intake those as requests to help us better prioritize.
Thank you.
Yeah, and on that note, with the feedback form after the event, if you can please share those requests and what have you. Fiona and I will work through that to make sure we share it with the team here. Okay, so circling back to the questions to make sure I address them all. And folks, if I look over one, there's a few, I apologize, please keep me honest. Randy, it looks like you're asking, is it a PaaS solution?
yeah, so Samantha, you might have to unshare your screen. But did you want to tackle that, Megan?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Oh, if HCP Vault was a PaaS.
Oh, so today HCP Vault is a single tenant service. I think that it's more closely aligned to a SaaS solution, but because it doesn't support multi-tenancy, we consider it a managed offering. I hope that answers your question.
Yep, it looks like it does. Thank you, Randy.
Awesome.
So I'll ask the follow-up question. What is the location of the data being saved for the HCP Vault service? Some regulations need the location to be within the same country.
That's a good question. So all the Vault specific data is stored within the same region as the cluster itself. Audit logs are stored within the same region as the cluster itself. However, when they are being downloaded in bulk, they are transferred back to the US and then back to the cluster. This is something that we're actively working on in the new year. Like I mentioned, we want to allow for co-locality of audit logs, even in the case where you want to bulk download them. And as far as snapshots right now, they are stored within the control plane, which means they're stored within the US. We are also working actively on making sure those are co-located with the clusters. And as far as the clusters themselves, we only offer the regions that I mentioned earlier in my presentation. We will be offering the rest of them in the coming year. And once those are available, you should be able to also adhere to some of those co-locality guidelines. But that's sort of the breakdown of the different types of data and where they're stored.
Right, Samantha, and if I remember or recall the slide you had towards the end there, Canada, Ohio, and something is coming up mid-2022. So that's what you mean by we'll be supporting a Canadian region planned for mid-2022. And just to repeat what you said so it's clear, that data is stored there. However, from an audit perspective or SIEM perspective, that will go back to US data center as of that point in time, and then back to the Canadian Vault clusters. However, it's on the backlog to self-contain or co-locate, to use your words. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, so co-location of audit logs and snapshots should be coming soon. And once that regional support is there, all of that vault data can be contained to that singular region. We don't allow for, if you provision a cluster today and you plan on changing the region later on, we don't allow for that currently. So the region that your cluster is in is the region it will always be in. But once those other regions are provided, you should be able to spin up a cluster in, Canada, for example, once that's supported within the platform.
Got it. Thank you, Samantha. Saul, did that answer your question? And just teeing up the next question here, Dwayne is asking about any custom plugin support.
We don't currently allow for third-party plugins. It's something that is being prioritized at the moment. And so we do plan on eventually supporting that. Specifically, I don't know if this is what you were asking for, but with Oracle database support, we do eventually want to support that, and that requires third-party plugin support. So it is coming. It's something we are prioritizing, and we are actively taking in feature requests for it, but we don't currently support third-party plugins, unfortunately, on HCP Vault.
Can I ask one question? So from observability perspective, I heard you guys already have Datadog and Grafana feature available, and yeah, for sure I'm gonna try the Grafana one. But instead of Datadog, we are using Dynatrace. So do we have any integration for Vault and Dynatrace for monitoring purpose?
We are thinking about potentially adding other alternatives. I think the next one that we would add as far as monitoring would be CloudWatch, actually. But it's something that we're intaking, feedback for as well. So happy to, intake that in and better prioritize future audit log exports in the future. But right now we only offer Grafana, Datadog, and Splunk Cloud and Enterprise, but all other, monitoring options aren't currently supported. As I mentioned, you can download the audit logs in bulk and then potentially, view them in whatever export of your choice. But as far as platform support, those are the only three that we offer so far. And I think if we were to go to a next one, it would likely be CloudWatch. But we're intaking feature requests for this as well. So happy to take in your feedback to help us better prioritize.
Thank you.
Just a quick question.
Yeah, please go ahead, Tariq.
Okay. I heard earlier the HCP Vault is also coming to Azure. So just for out of curiosity, what is the key difference would be the key difference between the HCP Vault and the Azure Vault then, if I have to compare it?
So I would say as of today, again, what we can share is we don't anticipate there to be any changes or differences between HCP Vault on AWS and HCP Vault on Azure. There are going to be networking differences in terms of how you will connect with Azure's primitives. But in terms of your user experience, the use cases you use HCP Vault for, the support on HCP Vault for certain secret engines or auth methods, whether those are static secrets, dynamic secrets, data encryption, or PKI, those four core Vault cases are going to be consistent. So the experience is not going to change if you're on AWS or Azure. That is our intention.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks for the question, Tariq. Going back to the chat, Depeche, dotted line related, will Azure Monitor Sentinel be supported with the Azure launch for HCP Vault?
Yishan, I don't know if you want to tackle this question. I'm also happy to.
Yeah, go ahead, Samantha.
On Azure. We don't currently offer Sentinel support on HCP Vault offered on AWS. As far as our rollout with Azure, I don't think we have fully refined what requirements will be included, but I think that Sentinel support may be a separate motion, and for that case may not be rolled out initially with our Azure offering, but I don't want to speak too soon. So I'll let Yishan better answer that question, but I was under the impression that they would not be looped in together. Sounds like that was correct.
Yeah, thanks, Samantha. And again, I'll reiterate, if you want to keep me honest here, there will be a feedback form at the end. Please share these questions and dare I say future requests, but what you would need for this to make sense for your organization. And I ensure that we'll review and look at these types of information, and the information that we got in the chat as well is important to us, right? And going back to, this is why we call this session sort of the HCP vision, HCP Vault vision for Canada and other regions, just to give the audience here an idea of what we're trying to do. Like, clearly there's steps for us to take, and we've kind of painted that picture, but this is our vision for HCP Vault in Canada. So thanks, Saul. I think Megan, Saul answered your question. I believe Government of Canada is what Saul's calling up there, right? Oh yeah, Samantha, you just called out future requests for Sentinel support. Okay. Any other questions for the team here? And Saul, dotted line related to your question way back from a, to see and touch it, for example. If you weren't aware, and I'll share this link in the chat right now. So this is, the future, the platform, if you will. If you go to cloud.hashicorp.com, we're early in our journey here of HCP, and today we're particularly talking about Vault. As you can see, Terraform, HCP, Consul, and Packer as well are part of the platform. So that's going to be out of scope. I mean, I'm happy to entertain questions and answer as best we can, but our goal here is Vault. So if you did wanted to try, explore, if you click on Vault, and all I did was just click on the Vault product there, you can see you can sign up and try it for free today. Okay, there's a question earlier about devs, but this gives you an idea of what you can experience. Now this is going to take me to a sign up page, and I'm going to go through the motions here. But if you go through here, you can try it today, right? So I've sent the link, and if you want to short circuit right to the sign up, I'll share it right here. Yishan, Megan, Samantha, anything to add to that before you get a flurry of people jumping on and hitting the service here?
No, not at all.
You do get trial credits, so if you want to try it out, just like a development tier proof of concept cluster, you should be able to for free with the trial credits that we provide.
Thank you, Samantha. So yeah, we're trying to make it, the net is trying to make it as simple as possible. We talked about why would you want this for your organization? Full disclosure, if you want us to maintain the clusters and services for you, that's the value of this. As Samantha had in one of her first slides about the on-premises version, of course, there's Vault on-premises, if that matters. This is the let's broker or have HashiCorp manage the service for us, and then you can just worry about configuring the clusters. That's the idea here. Okay. Any other questions or comments, folks? Just as a gauge from the audience here, now that we've gone through this and you have an idea of what to expect for HCP Vault in the upcoming year, what's the likelihood of folks trying this today, or what are the major things you would need? So I'll lean on Saul, some of Saul's questions a bit. The data residency sovereignty, 100% understand, and that's why in working with Yishan and Samantha preparing for this, we wanted to make sure we call it that Canada is part of that mid-2022 plan. What are the things we should take into account to make sure that this is a platform that works for our Canadian audience here? And on that note, Ruben asked, can you use the same account for various HCP services? So I understand you, like what I showed across cloud and console. Is that the question, Ruben?
No, sorry. I meant when you click, to try Vault on the cloud platform, you were taken to a registration page.
Yeah.
If you've already registered for one of the other services like Terraform or Consul, can you just log in and add that trial to your account, or is it separate registration for each service?
My understanding is it would be the same account. So you don't have to make a new account for, if you wanted to use HCP Consul, then another new account for HCP Vault, and then for Terraform Cloud. It's all the same.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, the one thing I wanted to ask the team here, this session today was focused on HCP Vault. The level of comfort with our Vault product in general, I think may range to some, but generally, is everyone familiar with the Vault offering that we have that we're talking about here? Because today was primarily focused on HCP Vault, but feel free to reply in the chat as well, kind of scale of 1 to 5 on comfort with Vault. And what I'll do is I'll make sure to send some materials that we have that you can get yourself familiar with Vault itself as well. Okay, and thank you for the feedback there, Peter, mentioning that having no support for third-party plugins would be a showstopper for us. Maxim, good to connect with you again. HSM integration is key. So yeah, this is fantastic feedback, folks. So Yishan and Samantha, I'm pretty sure you can see the chat as well, but just sharing that, you know, Maxim is calling out HCP integration and the plugin support. So thank you for this feedback.
Just a correction on like the last question on, you know, using the same organization across the different cloud offerings. I believe if it's within HCP, so Consul or Vault or I guess Packer, it can all be under the same organization, same credits. But as far as Terraform Cloud, since it's still separate at the moment, it does have to be under, as far as I know, a different organization. I think there is a motion to eventually bring all of them together, but as of right now, it's still separated. Just wanted to add that clarification. But yes, appreciate all the feature requests that we're getting in the chat. Definitely, you know, third-party plugins is a very common feature request we get here. We're excited to eventually be able to support that. And we know HSM is really important as well. So.
Okay, great. So any other questions or comments? And I'm going to speak to one here, and then there's a couple of private DMs that I got that I'll share, but it's a very general question. But in any case, there was one note here. So Paul asked, is this something we can purchase and pay for via a cloud marketplace, right? So like right now it'd be AWS Marketplace, in future Azure Marketplace.
It's a good question. I know for the Azure ones, we have plans to work with Microsoft a lot closer to get on the marketplace. But Samantha, I think you might have more context into that.
We do have a listing on AWS at the moment, but you still have to work through a sales rep in order to purchase it. So you can purchase it through the AWS marketplace, but you do have to work with a sales rep in order for us to properly activate your contract. If that answers your question. So technically it's listed. We're working on better refining that as well, because we've had a couple of customers confused and purchased the wrong thing, like for example, self-managed on AWS. So we want to make sure that we don't cause that confusion. So I'd encourage you for sure to work with a sales rep to make sure you purchase the right offering. But I think technically it is listed there. And as long as you work with the proper sales rep, you should be able to get your organization properly activated. Megan's nodding, so.
Yeah, exactly. You will be able to use your AWS credits, and it's a very streamlined process, but today it is through your rep. But it happens, it's very streamlined. We've had several customers use their AWS credits.
Okay. Did that answer your question, Paul? It looks like it did, yeah. Yeah, no, great feedback. Very, very aware or familiar with making it easier on marketplace transactions. So again, additional feedback we'll take, adding to Megan's last comment there. Okay, I'm making sure that I didn't miss any questions there. So I got some DMs about just general, what is Vault? And like I said, that's what's trying to set expectations, that this is particularly about HCP Vault. So I'll share a few things for those that are not aware, and I'll quickly share my screen here too. If you've never seen or heard about Vault, I'll start with this. I'll share my link afterwards. So all I'm going to share is our Learn site. If Vault is the first time you're seeing it today, I'll share this in the link afterwards. this is our learn site for kind of self-led understanding our products, right? So for Vault, if I click on this, you'll see we have a number of our products. If you weren't aware, HashiCorp actually has, I think, 8 products officially in total now. Is my counting correct? Yes, it is. From a commercial product standpoint, we got 4, including Vault. So there's Vault Enterprise on-premises and HCP Vault, as we mentioned today. That said, if you click on Vault here, this will take you to getting started from, what I'll call Vault 100 all the way to 200, 300. So there's a couple of DMs regarding this. This will help you understand the Vault product itself. Okay, so today was particularly Vault on the platform. This is the Vault product itself. From getting started to, someone mentioned HSMs. HSMs are down here somewhere, but you can get all the way to HSM configuration type conversations. Okay, so I'm going to share this in the chat. Okay, and Depesh, there's a question. Yeah, so Depesh, the short answer is, that's a longer conversation. If you'd like, please feel free to reach out or share your contact information, and I'd be happy to connect with you and have that conversation. So the question, folks, is there a feature comparison with other secrets management solutions? I would say that depends, and like I said, that's a longer conversation. And I would like to ask and understand what you're trying to accomplish, because then we'll have a different discussion based on that. Okay, so yeah, Depesh, please share your information you like, and I'd be happy to connect with you and have that conversation. Okay, folks. Any other questions, comments, concerns from our audience, our HashiCorp team here? I sincerely appreciate the feedback, especially the sovereignty questions and the feature questions, and Peter, the detail about the third-party plugins. That's valuable feedback for us on what you would need to make this a valuable solution here in Canada. Yeah, well, thanks again, Fiona, for sharing the Uber Eats voucher there.
Of course, and we did put together a form that we'll send out in the follow-up email, so you'll see that to give us this feedback that we've talked about.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments from the team? Like I said, please feel free to ask them. If not, I don't want to keep anyone if you don't, but we got the brain trust for HCP Vault here. If you do think of it later on your commute home or commute out of your home office, whatever it may be, don't hesitate to reach out to us and ask. And I extend the same invite that Depesh asked. Feel free to share your information if you'd like us to reach out to you and have a further conversation, be it on HCP Vault, any other of our HCP offerings, TFC Business, Vault Enterprise on premises. That's what we're here for. Okay. Thank you for the feedback and the kind words there.
Great job, Mike and team.
Thanks, Scott. If you didn't miss it, Koshi said it was a great presentation, professionally done. So thank you, Yishan, Megan, and Samantha there.
Yeah, thank you everyone for your time. Really appreciate it. And the feedback is also greatly appreciated.
Yeah, thank you all. And again, we'll be sending out a post-event email that will include the feedback form. We'll also have a recording that will be live on YouTube by next week. So you can be able to watch this and share this as well. So yeah, thank you all for joining. And thank you so much to Samantha, to Yishan, to Mike, and then to Megan as well.
Thanks, folks. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your Uber Eats there.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.